Welcome to a journey through one of the most profound moments in human history. Today, we'll explore 5 extraordinary events that occurred after Jesus Christ breathed his last breath on the cross at Calvary. These weren't mere coincidences, they were cosmic declarations, divine interventions that shook the very foundations of heaven and earth. What happened in those moments transcended the physical realm. The veil between heaven and earth grew thin, and creation itself responded to the death of its creator. From supernatural darkness to earthquakes, from torn temple curtains to resurrected saints, each event carries profound meaning for humanity's redemption story. Prepare yourself as we uncover the hidden meanings behind these miraculous occurrences, events that forever changed the relationship between God and humanity. Before we delve into what happened after his death, we must understand the journey that led to that pivotal moment. At the peak of the divine plan for humanity's redemption, the final minutes of Jesus' life on the cross were marked by intense physical and spiritual agony. Mount Calvary, also known as Golgotha, meaning the place of the skull, became the backdrop for the supreme expression of love and sacrifice. The journey toward Calvary began with Jesus carrying his own cross, symbolizing the weight of humanity's sins. The Via Dolorosa, also referred to as the Stations of the Cross, depicts the path Jesus traveled from the Praetorium to Calvary, a trail marked by profound suffering. As the Son of God advanced, he faced mockery, insults, and physical exhaustion. The crown of thorns pressed upon his head symbolized the rejection and disdain he was about to endure. When they reached Golgotha, Jesus' agony reached a new level as his wrists and feet were pierced by nails, physical witnesses to the price he was willing to pay. The weight of his suspended body on the cross increased respiratory difficulty, turning each breath into a desperate struggle. Yet even in the midst of this excruciating pain, Jesus uttered words of forgiveness. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Luke 23 verse 34. Around him, spectators witnessed the Messiah's final moments. 2 criminals were crucified beside him. One, touched by divine grace, recognized Jesus' innocence and asked to be remembered when he entered his kingdom. Jesus responded with words of hope, "Truly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." Luke 23 verse 43. At the climax of the crucifixion, something unprecedented occurred. From noon until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, darkness descended upon the entire earth, a cosmic phenomenon echoing the intensity of the moment. This wasn't a natural eclipse. Solar eclipses last only minutes, not 3 hours. And during Passover, with a full moon, a solar eclipse would have been astronomically impossible. This was divine intervention, a cosmic sign accompanying the crucial moment of crucifixion. Matthew 27 verse 45 records, "Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour." This period of persistent darkness cannot simply be attributed to natural causes. It is presented as a supernatural event, laden with hidden meanings similar to the parables Jesus spoke. In antiquity, darkness was often associated with mourning and the death of notable figures. Prominent theologians interpret this darkness as a symbolic moment where God, by darkening the earth, expresses his grief over the death of his Son, indicating the temporary withdrawal of divine light due to the significance of the sacrifice. This intense darkness during the day is undoubtedly a sign of divine judgment on Jesus' death. This idea is reinforced and aligned with Old Testament prophecies, such as Amos 8 verse 9, which mentions that God would make the sun go down at noon. It was during this darkness that Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Matthew 27 verse 46. These words confirmed the fulfillment of the scriptures and revealed the burden he carried in taking on the sins of the entire world. The darkness represented more than grief, it symbolized the weight of sin, the separation from the Father that Jesus endured on our behalf, and the cosmic significance of this moment in God's redemptive plan. The culminating moment approached as Jesus proclaimed, "It is finished," John 19 verse 30. At that instant, he yielded his spirit. And then, the earth trembled. Matthew 27 verse 51 records, "And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two, from top to bottom. And the earth shook, and the rocks were split." This earthquake was not merely a geological phenomenon, it was a response from creation itself to the crucifixion of the Son of God. The rocks, symbols of the solidity and stability of the earth, shattered in the face of this divine event, bearing witness to the gravity of the sacrifice taking place. It's crucial to note that the region of Palestine, due to its geological characteristics, is situated on an extensive seismic fault. The rock tremors and tectonic plate movements caused significant damage to tombs originally constructed in stone. But this wasn't just about geological activity. When Jesus, who spoke creation into existence, died, creation responded. The earth mourned. The rocks split in recognition of their Creator's sacrifice. The earthquake serves as a powerful metaphor as well. Just as the solid rock was split open, so too were the hard hearts of humanity being opened to receive God's grace. The immovable was moved. The unshakable was shaken. Nothing would remain the same after this moment. This seismic event set the stage for perhaps the most remarkable occurrence of all, an event that would foreshadow the ultimate victory over death itself. As a result of the earthquake, the tombs were opened. And then something absolutely extraordinary happened. Several bodies of saints, righteous individuals who had passed away, were resurrected. Matthew 27 verses 52 to 53 tells us, the tombs also were opened. And many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised, and coming out of the tombs after his resurrection they went into the holy city and appeared to many. This resurrection of the saints is one of the most remarkable and singular events recorded in the crucifixion narrative. These weren't ghost stories or visions, these were physical resurrections of actual people who had died. The earthquake, the opening of the tombs, and the resurrection of these saints are directly attributed to divine intervention. The resurrected saints became a visible representation of Jesus' victory over the dominion of death, foreshadowing what was to come for all who placed their faith in him. The term holy people likely refers to pious figures from the Old Testament, heroes of faith and martyrs from the history of Israel, intentionally chosen to miraculously witness these events. Imagine the scene, righteous men and women who had died years or even centuries before, walking through the streets of Jerusalem, testifying to the power of Jesus' sacrifice. Their notable appearance in the holy city not only reinforced the significance of Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, but also effectively highlighted his triumph over the power of death. This extraordinary event finds explanation in the teachings of the Apostle Paul. In 1 Corinthians 15 verses 20 to 23, Paul emphasizes Christ's resurrection as the firstfruits of the dead, indicating that just as Christ was resurrected, those who belong to him will also be resurrected, each in their order. These resurrected saints were like a preview, a trailer of the coming attraction. They were living proof that death had been defeated, that the grave could not hold those who belonged to God. Their resurrection was a down payment on the promise that all believers would one day experience resurrection life. In Matthew 27 verses 50 to 51, the narrative meticulously describes another impactful moment, and Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two, from top to bottom. To understand the significance of this event, we must first understand what this veil represented. In the temples of that time, there was a massive curtain that separated the sacred area of the temple from the most sacred part, known as the Holy of Holies. This wasn't a thin, delicate curtain. Historical records suggest it was approximately 60 feet high, 30 feet wide, and as thick as a man's hand. It would have been virtually impossible for any human to tear. This veil was not just a physical curtain, it was a representation of the distance between God and humanity. Only the high priest was allowed to enter beyond this veil, and this happened only once a year, on the Day of Atonement, through the blood of animals offered for sins. The Holy of Holies was where God's presence dwelt on earth. The veil served as a barrier, a reminder that sinful humanity could not approach a holy God. To pass through uninvited meant certain death. But when Jesus died, something miraculous happened. The veil was torn, not from bottom to top, as if human hands had ripped it, but from top to bottom, indicating that God himself tore it open. The act of tearing the veil goes beyond a physical event, entering the realm of symbolism and spirituality. The tearing of the veil symbolizes the removal of the barrier between God and people through the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. Before this crucial moment, only the high priest could enter the Holy of Holies on the Day of Atonement. However, when the veil was torn from top to bottom, it indicated that the barrier between God and humanity was permanently removed. God's action of tearing the veil represents direct and unrestricted access to him through the sacrifice of Jesus. The book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verses 19 and 20, explains this meaning beautifully. Therefore, brothers, since we have confidence to enter the most holy place by the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way opened for us through the curtain, that is, his body. This passage invites us to have confidence to enter the holy place through the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way that he opened for us through the veil, symbolizing his body. The revelation of the unveiling of the veil emerges as a symbolic and impactful representation of divine love and mercy. It indicates that the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross not only opened the way but resonates as an invitation for everyone to approach God with confidence and boldness, eliminating the need for intermediaries or ceremonial rituals. No longer do we need a priest to approach God on our behalf. No longer are animal sacrifices required. The way into God's presence has been opened for all who believe, freely, permanently, and completely. A fifth aspect worthy of highlight is the figure of the Roman centurion, whose crucial role during the crucifixion extended beyond the mere execution of imperial orders. As a military leader responsible for hundreds of soldiers, the centurion ensured that the crucifixion proceeded smoothly, requiring courage and efficiency. However, during Jesus' crucifixion, he and his fellow soldiers witnessed extraordinary events, earthquakes, darkness, and other cosmic phenomena, leaving them astonished and full of admiration. In this divine context, the centurion made an impactful statement, "Truly this was the Son of God," Matthew 27 verse 54. This declaration was not made lightly. The centurion, accustomed to suffering, death, and executions, recognized in the witnessed events that Jesus was innocent and faced the crucifixion with dignity, responding to injustice with remarkable grace. The centurion's confession represents a vivid testimony of the profound impact that Jesus' death had even on the hardest hearts. Here was a man who had overseen countless executions, a professional soldier hardened by war and death, yet he acknowledged Jesus' uniqueness as the Son of God. This transformation of perspective reveals the power of the message of the cross, capable of touching hearts and transcending cultural and social barriers. The Roman centurion inadvertently became a significant character in the chain of witnesses proclaiming the truth about Jesus as the awaited Messiah. This Gentile soldier, a representative of the very empire that crucified Jesus, became one of the first to proclaim Jesus' divinity after his death. It's a beautiful foreshadowing of how the gospel would spread beyond the Jewish people to all nations, to all people, regardless of background or past. These 5 events, the supernatural darkness, the earthquake and splitting rocks, the resurrection of the saints, the tearing of the temple veil, and the centurion's confession, were not random occurrences. They were divine declarations, cosmic announcements of the most significant moment in human history. Together, they proclaim one unified message: through Jesus' death, everything has changed. The barrier between God and humanity has been removed. Death has been defeated. Access to God is now open to all. And even the hardest hearts can be transformed by the power of the cross. The question that remains is this: how will you respond to these events? The way to God stands open. The sacrifice has been made. The invitation has been extended. May these profound truths transform your heart, just as they transformed the centurions, and may you live in the freedom and grace that Jesus' sacrifice has made available to all who believe. Thank you for journeying through these remarkable events with me today. May everyone remain under God's grace.